Hello, my name's Sarita and I'm speaking to you today from Soulhenge. And I'm here to help you understand the truth about who you are. Now, what I'd like to talk with you about today is the source field. What is the source field? And you've heard me talk about the source field, and loads of other sort of spiritual gurus talk about the source field. And sometimes it's called the unified field, or it's called source consciousness, or it's called God. Whatever you want to call it, basically, we are living in this massive ocean, if you will, of source consciousness, and we are a part of it. What you are is source consciousness expressing itself in third dimensional reality. You're a piece of source consciousness. You're a piece of the source field, or if you will, you're a piece of God being expressed, expressing itself in these moments in this dimension. And so what is the source field? I mean, obviously, this is the eternal question, isn't it? What is God? What is the source field? But what quantum physics is finding out now is that basically source consciousness is this all-seeing, all-knowing, all-loving intelligence that we are completely surrounded by and a part of. And this stems from the fact that basically science has discovered that only 4% of everything in existence is actually made of matter, and everything else is made of this space, the source field. And as you are a part of this space, you have access to all that is. You have access to this infinite intelligence that's around you. And the source field contains all of the information that ever was, past or present or in the future. So basically, when we're manifesting, what we're doing is we're calling potentials, because everything exists in the source field always, because linear time doesn't exist there. Space and time has no effect on the source field. And so when you're manifesting, you're pulling potentials from the source field into this reality. It's just a matter of focusing on those potentials to pull them in. But the source field is also incredible because you have access to all of the knowledge of all time. And when you see artists, and I mean those by, music artists or painting artists or, any kind of artist, and they're producing these extraordinary works. I mean, look at Mozart, started at the age of 5 and just producing symphonies and things like that. Now, he could not have had that much information by the age of 5 to be able to write a symphony. What he was doing was he was downloading information from the source field. And whenever you get into that sort of artistic mode, whether you're dancing or painting or whatever, what you're effectively doing is you're channeling from source. You're receiving information because you've opened yourself up to this information. You understand how it works, and you're just allowing yourself to be an open conduit for the information to arrive and be downloaded. And that's why so many of us are drawn to incredible works of art or dance or music, because we feel that ultimate connection. We feel that loving intelligence that's coming through and landing in the artistic pieces. And there's a really great story about Michael Jackson. Apparently, one day he woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he woke everybody up in his house, the PAs, the whatever, his assistants, and he was like, turn on all the lights, we've got to get the studio ready, I'm downloading an amazing song. And his PAs said to him, listen, Michael, or whatever he called him, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, can't this wait till can't this wait till like a reasonable hour? And Michael Jackson said, no, if I don't write this down, Prince will get it. And he understood that all of those amazing songs were in the source field, available to all of us to download at any time. And the source field also explains something which is 100th monkey syndrome and 100th monkey syndrome and things like psychic ability. Because 100th monkey syndrome is where you have monkeys on one side of the world, and let's say there's a tribe of monkeys, and they begin to understand that they can break open a coconut with a rock. So let's say one of them drops a coconut out of the tree, it opens, and then they begin to understand that if they drop coconuts on rocks, they will open, okay? So what happens is when a certain amount of monkeys on one side of the world or in this one tribe all begin to adopt these behaviors, suddenly on the other side of the world, in all different parts, all of the monkeys all over the world will suddenly take up the same behaviors. So it's like what's happening is that information of which we're a part of, the source field, the monkeys are behaving within the source field, and the monkeys on the other side of the world are picking up that information once the information in the source field becomes prevalent. You know, once they're firing that information, the other monkeys pick it up, and suddenly they're all exhibiting the same behaviors. It explains why you know when the phone rings who's on the other end of the phone. Everybody has that experience. It explains how you can be thinking about one of your friends for a couple of days and they suddenly send you an email. They can feel you in the source field. That's what's happening. And so when you meditate, you have access to this source field. If you can still your mind and stop all of that busyness, which is your egoic head, and it's so noisy, our egoic head, it's always, fixing things and solving problems and thinking about stuff. If you can quiet that, you will have access to source field intelligence. And often, if you need the answer to a question or a problem in your life that you just can't solve, the best way to do this is to still your mind and allow the information to come into you from the source field. And there are meditations that you can do where you can go up into the source field and find the answer to a question that you need. And in fact, I'll do one of those meditations in a few days or something, so that you can see how that works. And for me, whenever I have a problem, whenever I don't know what to do about something, sometimes even if I don't know what to do with my day, what's the best thing that I could be doing in this day for myself, my family, for my business, blah, 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 I will pause and I will open my channels and I will open myself to the source field and I will ask the question and the answer will come in, because this is all the intelligence that has ever been and that will always be. And another really interesting thing that's been found out quite recently is science always made the assumption that the neurons in our brains stored memories, that we stored our memories in our brains. And what's happened quite recently is they've discovered that actually we do not store memories in our brains. Our neurons are receptors. They are receiving information from the source field. So all of your memories exist in the source field. This is what I'm saying, but basically science is now beginning to prove this, and quantum physics is proving it. There is hardly any matter in the universe. It's all of this space, and it has, all of this all-knowing, all-loving intelligence. And another really interesting scientific thing that's been going on, well, a technological thing that's been going on, is that in certain industries, they've been trying to find ways to create a microchip for computers that can hold more memory. And what they've discovered is that water contains so much information, that it can store so much information. So they've started experimenting with using, specialized water, distilled water in microchips in computers. This is the latest technology. But beyond that, what's happened is they couldn't understand how so much information was being stored in this water. And what it turned out was that, again, water is a receptor. It is picking up information from the source field. And if you understand that you are 70% water, then you know that everything that you are picking up and receiving into your consciousness is from the source field, and you are part of that source field. You are just energy vibrating at frequency. Everything around you is energy vibrating at frequency. Even this telephone that I'm talking to you on Even though it's an inanimate object, it is vibrating at frequency within the source field. It is part of the source field, as are you, as is the earth, as is every single thing that you can look at or touch or imagine or think is part of the source field. So there you go. That's what the source field is, in case you were wondering. Thanks for listening.